Welcome, 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 Outlaws to Advocates. We have a landmark episode tonight with our first female in the house. Mari is on tonight. Welcome, Mari. We
Hi.
also have another female on the couch. We've doubled our population in here almost, so we're doing pretty well. Please turn up your phone, Jesse. That'd be awesome. Great. There we go. It's so awesome. Welcome, Mari. We're super glad you're here.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Awesome. You asked to come on here, or didn't ask, but you talked about coming on here a while ago. We finally made it happen. So we're super glad to have you. We also got some really good news this week. Yesterday, I got a phone call from the Assistant Secretary of Labor for the United States, and he wants to come on, and he's coming on Monday. So Monday, we're going to be doing an early podcast at 11 a.m. It's not going to be broadcast because the tech's going to be different. Obviously, he's not coming to my apartment. He's in Washington. But he's going to be on Monday, and we're going to record an episode with him as well on veterans and reentry and whatever that looks like.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. He told me, because we joke around a lot about having only 4 listeners.
Yeah.
And he said, well, congratulations, Mr. Nolan. You got 5 listeners because I've been listening. And it was pretty cool to hear that it's reaching that many people. So,
Yeah, that's a blessing.
yeah, welcome. Welcome. So my name's George Nolan. I work in reentry. I love what I do. These are my friends. You want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Jesse Messer, and me and Mari have known each other for a long time. And I'm just so proud of her. I'm so glad to see how far she's come. And I'm really glad that she could come on today and share her story with us.
You've known Mari for a long time?
A long time.
I am so sorry, Mari.
Yeah.
So sorry.
I'm so proud of him too. Yeah, he's changed so much. It's not even funny. So, yeah, it's that's just the blessings that God gives us for
Absolutely.
sure. From coming from the running amok straight up.
Yeah.
And yeah, now we're just living the dream. You know,
So
helping
cool.
others. Yeah.
I knew him in prison, so it's cool to see him with shoes on and stuff. So
Yeah.
Yeah, George used to rub my feet.
it's hey, a hustle's a hustle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I used to watch him just sit there at his bed, as soon as he get off work. Didn't look very happy, but as soon as he starts talking, it's all about recovery. So, and it was a blessing to sit there and have those conversations.
Yeah, when you're rolling around in chicken shit for 12 hours, it's hard to maintain that gratitude.
Yeah, it really is.
It messes with your perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you had a job rolling around in chicken shit in prison?
I did. I
No,
worked at a
what
chicken
are those things called that you go under a car with? Those rollers that we were on.
Well, the kill carts.
Well, the kill carts, but they, when they removed all the chickens.
The floorboards you lay on.
The
Where
floorboards.
you slide
You're swimming.
for the
boogie boards.
For the
Boogie-
roundups? Yeah,
yeah,
the
yeah.
boogie boards, yeah.
Yeah, and the lights are all out, and you got a headlamp on. It's cold, man.
And chicken hunting.
And
And
you're chicken hunting.
When you've experienced that, you know you can rock bottom.
Yeah. Or when you have to chase that one chicken in the back where all the shit is.
Yeah, the
right?
shit bit.
Yeah, and the ground's moving because of all the maggots, and you just slide, and you fall right in it.
I remember one day I watched Jeremy go after this chicken. Both of his feet come right out from under him.
Oh, yeah.
Right into it.
I did. I
Oh.
slid right through it.
Yeah,
It's like, man,
it's pretty brutal out there.
Yeah.
You get to a point out there, like, I don't know, have you ever worked out there at the chicken farm?
No, actually, I never did that.
It gets to a point where, like, you're eating your sack lunch and your hands are just covered in flies and it doesn't even phase you
Oh wow.
at all. You just,
Well, I grew up in Maricopa City, so there's a shit ton of flies out there with all the cows. It's actually Hickman's is out in Maricopa.
is it?
Yeah, there's one of them, and then just tons of cows. That's
Yeah.
it.
And flies are weird too, because I used to drive a semi. So I'd get in my semi in the morning and it's cold, during the wintertime it'd be cold. And the whole ceiling would be covered with flies. So before I got in, I'd hit it, they'd all fall on the floor. And then I'd start driving around, and as the truck warms up, these flies come back to life. And it's just like a swarm of flies comes off the floor.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, they're resilience. There's a lesson in resilience there,
Yeah,
for sure.
they are.
And humility.
Drug addicts, flies, and humility. They all go together.
For sure.
100%. What's the best thing you got going on right now, Mari?
Well, the best thing I have going on right now is my sobriety, my recovery. I bought a house, and
That's a big deal, man. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
How long ago?
it's 3 months ago.
Awesome. How long have you been out of prison? What-
So I went to prison in 2020,
Okay.
and that was enough I was there for 10 months, but that was because I stalked the WIR teacher down and was like, you need to put me in your class, man. So I was too smart to know that RNA, if you pass your mandatory, you don't get the 70%. So then I had to find a program on the yard.
Yep.
And I had to find all this out on my own because my CO3 was horrible.
Yep.
Didn't help me like one bit at all. So I had to calculate my ARS code and figure out all my timing and tell my CO3 like, look, I'm gonna be getting out like right around Christmas, and they're like, no, you're not. I'm like, yeah, yes I am. I'm gonna be graduating this class and I'm gonna be getting out. And I had literally just heard about New Freedom at that time when I was about to get out, and so sorry.
That happens.
So then I was like, oh, I don't need to go to New Freedom. I'm good. Like I don't need to go there. I've got a house to go to. I'm okay. And I didn't last more than 2 weeks out before I got high again. And that's what made me really realize a year and a half later, when I'm still on probation, but I'm still getting high, like, I definitely don't want to go back to prison, so my PO gave me the option of going to rehab, and I was like, I'll find a rehab, right? And I'm sitting there, and I remember this is when, like, God really, like, hit me, was like, you know, this is it, like, are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Because I'm sitting there calling all these different places for a rehab, and they're like, do you have $13,200? I'm like, no, I'm a fucking addict. Like, I don't have fucking money like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you have access. I was like, yes, I have access. And they're like, well, here's a list of rehabs to go to. And I'm sitting there spinning a dope pipe, like, fuck, I'm so fucking done with this shit. You know what I mean? And I was in abusive relationships, one after the other, and it was just like, I found Purpose Healing Center, and I went to Purpose, and that's where I found my purpose. I was super scared because I thought all I knew how to do was spin a dope pipe. And I'm like, oh, I can't put that on a resume. How am I gonna get a fucking job? You know? So I happened to meet my best friend, Justine, when I was at Safe and Sound Sober Living. And from there, I went to sell solar, right? Because that was the first job I could get.
Nice.
And I hated it. And
How'd you do with solar? Did you do good?
No, absolutely
Okay.
not. No. To be honest, like, I literally was like, this isn't fair. People don't want to sign up for solar. Like, it's a huge investment. And so I put in my 2 weeks, and they fired me 2 days before my 2 weeks. So she was like, why don't you try out New Freedom? And I was like, oh, okay. And I've never had, like, a good, decent job ever in my life. Like, even when I was getting high, I was a delivery driver. So, you know what I mean? So it's like delivering pizzas and getting high. Like, you know, I was used to that.
Yeah.
I worked at, like, Dairy Queen and, like, Little Caesars and little things like that, but never, like, a good, decent job. I think the one time I had a decent job, I was, I was like 21, and it was at ST Microelectronics, like making those wafer boards, right?
Yeah.
And I had to get my mom to pee in a cup for me so I could get the job, because that's how much of an addict that was, you know what I mean? So, and that only lasted about 6 months, because I had a stupid, crazy life, getting high. So, I was like, okay, and I literally almost didn't get the job at New Freedom because I wasn't used to, like, emails, right? And everybody responding through emails, and being like 3 months sober, I literally was like, just all of a sudden checking my email one day in the spam folder, and I was like, oh my god, the very last day that I was able to accept my offer letter, I found it, and I was like, accept, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I probably would have started like a few weeks earlier if I would have realized that's how it works, you know what I mean? Emails and like offer letters and this and that. I just had never had a good, decent job to know like the process of it, you know?
No, it's a learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we met together and we became really good friends, and I moved into an Oxford house. I started work on the 12th of September at New Freedom in 22, and then I moved into an Oxford house on September 15th of 22. And the cool thing about that, right, is this year on September 15th is when I got the keys to my house. So
Oh,
it was
nice.
absolutely like a God shot for me. Like,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? You're doing the right thing. You're on the right path. And when I first got sober, I was like, I don't need to go to sober living. Like, I have a house I can go to. I'm fine. And my therapist was like, no, if you really want to succeed, you should probably do what we know will help you succeed. And if I didn't take that actual like consideration and knowledge and like the people who guided me, I wouldn't have gotten to as far as I am today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
We got to listen to the people that have done it, right? That are succeeding. There's a lot of power in the people that are struggling with us or coming up with us, or at the same level we're at. There's definitely a lot of power there. There's a little bit of build, a little bit of give and take, and that's great. But if you really want to succeed, if you really want to go places, you have to listen to the people that have been doing this for a long time. You don't have to listen to everything they're saying. You don't even have to follow what they're saying,
Right.
but you have to be open enough to listen to that. And that's why I go to meetings. I'm not a big 12-step guy. These guys tell me I should go to meetings. I go to meetings. Not as often as they think I should, but I still go because it's not going to kill me. I do get good stuff out of there, and we continue to learn from people that are doing great things, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Meetings, CA actually for me. I got it right there on the. That's my home group right there.
Nice.
I love it. I actually in rehab went through 3 different sponsors. Right, the first sponsor they gave me, and they're like, "Oh, you guys sound like you're having so much fun." And I'm like, "This is not about having so much fun, so no, I don't want that one." Went to another meeting at the Pigeon Coop, and this girl just got a year, and I was like, "Oh, maybe her." And then I met my actual sponsor, and I met her, and I was like, I don't know, you know what I mean? And it's a blessing. She had 28 years at that time, you know what I mean? And I was like, well, that's God right there telling me like, you want what she's got, right? So maybe you should pick the one that's got what you want, you know?
Absolutely.
And so like ever since I got sober, my dream is to say I've got just as long sober as I did using, and I used for 22 years. So
that's a good benchmark to set, huh?
Yeah. I got 2 down, so
there you go.
Yeah.
Almost there.
Right, yeah, get there. But I do know it's a process, and the thing I love about my sponsor is she's a service junkie. She's straight up, service, right? And so for me, I went to my first convention, and I was again like 2-3 months sober, and I got to meet this lady from Ireland, right? Oh, I love that accent. It's beautiful. And so I got to spend the whole day at the convention. Friday night she was the speaker, and then all day Saturday I just hung out with this lady from Ireland, and it was super inspiring. And then I went with my sponsor. She's like, if you really like conventions, you should probably get involved. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, well, it takes a lot of work to run these things. And I was like, okay. And then I get there, and I was on safety at New Freedom, and I was like, oh, I can run a walkie-talkie. Like, I know what to do. Like, I can do security. And she's like, I don't know. That's a lot of work. And I was like, oh. So the spiteful me was like, well, now I'm going to show you I can fucking do it.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely,
what I mean?
yeah.
So yeah, I went to every single convention committee meeting every second Saturday of the month, and I did it, and it was fun. And then I got Kevin to come with me too.
That's cool.
Yeah, he did it, and it was awesome. It was fun. It wasn't like a job, you know what I mean? It's like there was really nothing much going on for security, but it was cool to know that I actually committed to that commitment and like succeeded with it, you know. And then like with sponsoring, that's like for me service work right there. You know what I mean? That's giving back. So, and that's where I really found the beauty of loving myself is through step work. So, yeah, I love that.
Definitely help. I ran into one of Jesse's sponsees the other day at the resource fair, and he's like apologizing to me. He's all, just tell Jesse I'm really sorry. I'm like, literally no one judges you, bro.
Right.
He's like, no, I know how he's gonna feel. I'm like, oh, do you? Jesse, here's your sponsee. Talk to him.
Love it.
Yeah. So, and you said something really powerful there, right? I don't want to glance over that. You talked about the step work for you taught you how to love yourself.
Absolutely.
And learning to love ourselves is huge.
Yeah.
Huge, because only I know everything that I've done.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
the darkest of the dark moments, right? And a lot of them, unfortunately, I forget about because there were so many of them. But they creep up, they come back in, they hold that shame on there, they pull you down, they surround you, or they can. What do you use to fight that, to combat that, to stay loving yourself?
Well, honestly, Codependency Anonymous, is what truly helped me learn to love myself. Self-love, like positive affirmations. I had to really, truly like do with positive affirmations. And I'm not talking about
What's that sound like for you? I want to hear one, if you don't mind.
I'm a badass woman.
There you go.
I can succeed through Christ who gives me strength. And I do this like every week with my groups because I'm like, I need to hear some positivity, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I just tell myself I will succeed no matter what, right? And I just know that for 22 years I lived in negativity, toxicity, destruction, and I'm not about that anymore. I won't even give that any more of my time of day. Like most of the time when we feel like something is negative and coming at us that way, it's because we're not used to it and we're not comfortable with it. And I just flip it. Like, what is the positive thing coming from this? Because just because I think it's negative, it's because I'm not okay with it. I wasn't expecting it or whatever. You know what I mean? So I like to tell myself like, all right, I wasn't expecting this, and how am I going to handle this? And what is the positive thing that's going to come from this? Because it's like the yin and yang and the love and hate. You know what I mean? You can't have one without the other.
It's good.
Absolutely. Justine's on here. She says hi, and she said she's a badass woman. Callie Rogers, hey Callie. Justine's all over this thing.
Yeah.
There's quite a few people on here tonight. It's pretty cool to see everybody. Thanks, guys, for joining us.
Yeah.
That positive affirmations are awesome.
Well, and the thing I was gonna say about the positive affirmations is when I first started it, right? Justine was there with me, and the crazy part about it is I have this thing called body dysmorphia, right? I didn't even realize I had it until I got sober, but I'll look in the mirror and I'll see somebody that's just like this ugly person, right? And I first started to try to do them in the mirror, like the rearview mirror when I was driving, and I was like totally discrediting myself with that, right? Because if I truly am learning to love myself, I'm looking at a full body mirror at who I am and loving myself for who I am and what I look like, and not discrediting how, you know, powerful that is, right?
Yes.
So looking in the rearview mirror just reminded me a lot of being a tweaker.
Yeah.
Right? When we used to steal cars all the time and I would be driving behind people stealing the cars, and like, yeah, it's just, I don't want to discredit myself because God doesn't discredit me. You know
Right.
what I mean? He loves me for who I am, so why can't I love myself for who I am and give myself a full body mirror to see what's there? You know what I mean? So it was funny because I was driving Justine to work when we first met, and she was like, "Really? Why are you trying to do 10 things right now and drive? Do you want to kill me?" And I'm like, "No, I really don't." It took me a long time to unlearn the habits I learned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and I called the 22 years of using my slow suicide, right? On top of other times I tried to, you know, commit suicide. So what and it's really crazy because the relationship I'm working on the most is the one with myself, right? Because I've had so many bad ones underneath my belt that I'm just super scared of getting in another one that will be bad, you know?
Yeah.
And then I'm like sitting there like, I don't know if I'm pushing myself to miss out on good opportunities because I'm so scared of it, but at the same time I'm like, I'm still learning how to love myself, so I feel like that's not where I should be focusing on. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's been a blessing, the relationships I have built in the last 2.5 years, for sure. But positive affirmations have helped me staying positive. Like I always say, my superpower is positivity. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There was a girl I talk about her all the time, Tori La Rochelle, that she trained me on peer support, and she describes herself, and I love this quote, as annoyingly positive. And it's such a great quality to have, right? And it's cool that she put annoying on there or whatever, but it's such a great quote to have because why not?
Right.
What does the other stuff get you? I talked to a friend of mine today that was worried about something that she had going on. And so I called her, say, hey, I want to wish you luck. I hope everything goes good. And she called me after. She goes, it wasn't even that. It was. So we spent all this time worrying about some things that haven't even happened yet.
Right.
Or worrying about things that nobody else even cares about. Like that we, in our head, I'm like, oh, what does Jesse think about this? And Jesse's like, hey, where's pizza? Like.
Well, the beauty of that right there is when I first started working at New Freedom, all the love, compassion, and empathy and everything that was shown towards me, right? It made me excited to think like that too, like, they're talking shit about me, and it's like, no, Mara, you're not that important. You're not what they think about all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But truly, when I went to work at New Freedom, and it took me about the first 3 months to realize that I was that broken person. That's why I didn't know how to, I thought it was all fake. I thought that love, that compassion, all of it was fake, and there's no way that they're that nice and da-da-da.
Yeah.
And I realized, oh my God, Mara, you're that broken. You are that broken of a person, and like, if you can realize this, then what do the members, how do they feel? You know what I mean? And like, and it shocked me, like, okay, Mari. And then the blessing of it was this last year on March 1st. So I found my dad like 2 years ago at Cass. I don't know if you guys been to Cass.
Yeah.
That place was scary. That was like, and it was when the tents were still there and everything. And I literally was trying to find my dad to give him an amends, right? Because we used to get high together and all these things growing up. And he always told me he'd be a better friend to me than a father. I didn't need any more friends. I needed a father. But I truly realized March 1st, I got a call from his group home, right? Because I found him at Cass, and I told him, if this is how you want to live, I can't be a part of your life. Like, I'm just trying to say sorry and help you, but this is your choice. And so we went through some rocky things together, but I found him a group home to stay at and all these things, right? And he took a lot of narcotics. He was an addict, but he didn't see himself that way, so I had to kind of meet him where he was at and accept that. You know what I mean? So on March 1st, I had found out 30 minutes before running my first group that he passed away. And I had just seen him the day before, and I felt super guilty, right, about, I came to bring him his medications, and his eyes were rolling in the back of his head. And the way my dad was is the only way he felt good was when he was like almost dying, right? His blood pressure would be so low, and they try and resuscitate him, all these things. So for me, I didn't know what a dead person really looked like, let alone my dad, at least not in my sobriety. And so I left him, right? And then the next morning I found out he died. And that was the morning I was told I had to start facilitating groups. And I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. It's okay. We're good. And my boss happened to be in the room that day. And that was the last day that a certain group was going to be a group. They were dispersing. And they were being real rowdy and disrespectful. And I was like, hey, you know what, you guys? Like, I just found out my dad died. And I'd super appreciate if we could just be like a little bit more understanding and like work with me here to like make this a group go smoothly, you know? And that like totally, that's right there what changed my whole dynamic on like working with others and being vulnerable, right?
There it is.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what truly changed my life. And I realized, oh my God, like once I got that way, right? And that's when my boss was like, oh, I need you. And I was like, well, I wasn't on that team yet, you know what I mean? And I wasn't, I like my 410s. I still like my 410s. Right? It makes a huge difference when you work 410s. You got that 3 days off.
Absolutely.
But that's what made me realize, because members came up to me later and they're like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be disrespectful. You know, and it was just like, oh wow, me getting like that and releasing that and showing others that that's okay to be that way helped me grow, and I'm sure it'll help them grow. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So that's what truly made me realize that like, if I'm struggling, I'm sure others are struggling, and if I can share it, then hopefully I can help others to do the same. Because when we release that toxicity and that negativeness, and that will like bring us down, we can fill our cups up with the good stuff. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, it always helps the group too. Make them feel like you're not there to try and control them. You're just here to be with them.
yeah, oh absolutely.
I'm sure the room got quiet once you shared too.
Yeah, no, it really did.
Yeah.
It's and that's the thing too. I always let them know like, hey, I'm only a little bit farther in my journey than you. Like where you guys are at, I've been there, and you guys can be where I'm at if that's what you want. You know what I mean? It just does. You have to put the work into it. So yeah, I truly love what I do.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy that works at another facility, and they deal a lot with almost like the last chance for people that are on parole, right? Your PO is like, hey, you're going here. So there's a different level of resistance there, right? They're in their addiction, they're actively using, or were up until a day or two before.
Yeah.
And they, the members ask him, well, what about you, man? How long did you get out? He's like, oh, 2 months or whatever it is. Like, how are you working here already? He's like, because I made some changes and this is my life now.
Yeah.
And he said he can see like the hope come on, like, hey, there is a different path forward. And that being vulnerable, we talk about it all the time, right? There's so much power in that, and that way you just put that on with the loss of your dad, sharing with that group, like that's a great example of what vulnerability does.
Yeah.
It's a great example. You trusted them with something that was painful. Otherwise, it could have looked, hey, maybe she just has an attitude today. That's, I usually go to the worst thing possible, like, oh, this guy's just a dick, and skip all the compassion. That's why I'm really grateful that the people that are in my life show me compassion and point me towards compassion. And they're like, well, what about this? What if it looks like that?
Right.
I'm like, oh, okay, because my
Perception.
my natural go-to for 40 years, 30 years, whatever it was, probably closer to 40, was dickhead. It's way easier for me to be a dick than it is to be nice.
Right.
And kind of like you, when I got to New Freedom, I'm having conversations with people, and I'm like, holy shit, like I'm not as far along as I thought I was, or I thought I am, because these people are pretty fucking nice.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And then it's consistent, and they do it every day. I'm like, oh my God, they're not faking. Like this,
Yeah. No,
I got to get some of that.
Yeah, I literally before I go to work, I have to put like my armor of God on, pretty much. I wake up and sorry, this thing's little. There we go. I wake up, right, and I like feed my dog and I get ready to go. But before I actually
What kind of dog?
Oh, he's a little black lab bull terrier.
Nice.
Yeah, he's my little old man.
Awesome.
He's been through my addiction with me and out of my addiction with me, and yeah, I'm so grateful for him.
Does he like you better sober?
Oh, hell yeah.
Who doesn't?
Yes.
More treats.
Yeah.
More kindness, more treats.
Right, and I brought him to a house with a whole bunch of women that pet him all the time. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
yeah,
The
so
first
he-
2 years, yeah, for sure.
Oh, he's living a good life.
Yeah, yeah, he's a good dog. I had to literally spend like $1,200 just to get his teeth fixed because hey, I was a tweaker, so he had to be a tweaker too. So we got to fix ourselves together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fix his teeth, too.
So with yeah.
That's great.
So in the morning, I will literally wake up. I will meditate for 10 minutes. I will read my Bible and my devotionals and write my grateful list every morning. Like
That's so awesome.
yeah, and I usually try to double it. Like if I have 10 rows there, I try to make like 2 for each one. You know what I mean? So I have 20 things I'm grateful for because when I go into my groups and I get them all to warm up to each other, I'm like, I want to know 3 things you're grateful for, a positive affirmation, and what was your rose and your thorn of the week.
Nice.
So what was the positive that, you know, you accomplished something or whatever, and if there's a thorn, there doesn't have to be, but if there is, let's get it out. Let's talk about it. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Because the best thing ever is watching others help each other. Like iron sharpens iron, one man sharpens another.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
It's-
that's a beautiful thing.
I brought one of our clinical staff to my group on Friday in the prison.
Oh, cool.
And for whatever reason, I have a great group in there. Great group of guys. I have really strong leaders. I have newer guys that are wanting to grow into this, you know, and it's not necessarily like a substance use recovery group. It's more about personal development, getting better, self-confidence, public speaking, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she was in there and she was extremely vulnerable, and she talked to the guys, and the guys said right after that, they said they're like, you know, this Friday night thing and being able to come in here and be a part of the group and to hear the safe space from what's going on the yard, because the yard's flooded or whatever they got. I don't know what they got going on. I'm assuming it's that. But they get to come in there and close the door and be away from all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about that power in the room, and they're thanking each other,
Yeah.
you know, and
It's
that
a safe space.
that's where the money. And the guy said to me, one of the guys said, "Oh, it's cool because you give up your Friday nights." You know, I'm like, I don't give up my Friday night. Like, this is my Friday night. Like, I get to, if I have to give anything up, it's coming in this fucking place, right?
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah.
you just said I get to.
Absolutely,
Get to.
100%.
That right there
Yeah.
is like the hugest thing ever, right? Because as much as I just bought a house, now I have to spend $22,000 to fix the plumbing. And I said to a coworker, I was like, "Oh man, I have to shower here at work or whatever." And I was like, "Wait, hold on, no, I get to shower at work because thank God because I don't have a shower right now."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So thank God I have that opportunity because both my roommates, they don't have that opportunity. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, it's the thing. But that's the blessing of it, right? And honestly, this is going to be like a week and a half kind of issue. Whereas when I was high at my old house that was built in the 40s, that issue happened for like months, right? Months. And even though
And you didn't even notice?
well, no, I noticed because I ended up getting sepsis from it.
Oh
right?
my God.
Yeah, I got an infection. This is kind of embarrassing, but not really. A urinary tract infection, and I
Yeah.
didn't realize. But I was also with my ex-husband, and we were like really chaotic for each other and abusive. And like I started giving up on myself, and
Yeah.
that's when I realized I stopped looking in the mirror at myself.
Yeah.
Was then I didn't like care like how I looked or whatever, and the worst part about it was like when I got a divorce recently, I wanted to say an amends to him, and he wouldn't accept it, and I had to realize that like it's okay, you know what I mean? As
Absolutely.
much as I felt bad that I left him when he was in prison because I always said I would never do that. I know that that I hope that he's happier now. You know what I mean? I know that he's probably super bitter, right? But the thing I had to do was like God have it, right? And that was fucking hard.
Yeah.
That was hard because I know I fucked up. And I know most of all, like, I grew up with parents that
Did you
followed-
fuck up for him or did you fuck up for you?
I fucked up for me. Oh,
Okay.
like, I know I fucked up by leaving him like that because I said I would never do it, but I had to.
Was it the best thing for you?
Best thing for me.
Then you didn't fuck up, right?
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's how I had to think about it because if I would have went back to the same old shit happening over and over with him, like, it wouldn't have been okay. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Jeremy's got a saying about, what is it, about disappointing other people?
Yeah. Sometimes I had it written on my locker because I'd read it somewhere, and it was it's okay to disappoint others in order to be true to yourself. You know, and that's carried me on and got me through so many situations with not only just employment, but with family and with friendships, right? Because I know in my heart that I want to stay sober, right? And that I know that a spiritual experience is going to take me there. right? So I have to be willing to disappoint others in order to stay true to those two things. Because if I'm true to those two things, then I'm never going back to prison.
Right. Yeah.
Ever.
Absolutely. Like, yeah. That's beautiful.
But
How'd you say that again?
situations like this, what happened this morning, were very, very questionable, right? Like, cause what you experienced, I had to call George this morning, because the dope fiend in me wanted to get that extra couple of grams of protein that was on the counter, and next thing you know, I had red beet juice and protein powder all over my kitchen everywhere, and I called myself just about every name in the book.
And I laughed and I laughed.
And I had to counter condition myself and literally look at myself in the mirror and reset myself. Because, I mean, like, if it's something this small, then it's like, well, why can't I just treat myself good all the time? Why can't I just do that and laugh at myself? No, I relied on old information that is trying to kill me,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, no, the power of just knowing that I'm not willing to sacrifice anything for my sobriety or my spiritual experience, you know,
Yeah.
just non-negotiable.
What was the thing you had written on your locker again?
It's that it's okay to disappoint others in order to be true to yourself.
Oh yeah. That's beautiful. I love that.
Absolutely. That's amazing.
It's a tough lesson too, right?
Yeah.
Because we want to make everybody happy. Like I know I do. I want everyone to like me and all that other stuff. But
Yeah, that's a little codependent thing right there.
but yeah, that's what I mean. But it's not reality.
No,
It's not. It's not reality, and it's also not my responsibility or your responsibility or anybody's responsibility.
Right.
or
We're
any
only
of our-
responsible for ourselves.
Absolutely, everybody's
the
gonna feel.
biggest of the 4 agreements too is like we had those, right? But the one that really stands out to me is never assume. Like
Right.
we shouldn't assume because we're assuming that that somebody's saying this something about us or whatever. When in reality, it's that hungry ghost of addiction that lived in our central core of our soul that tried to kill us. Like you said, it's a slow suicide. Absolutely, it is.
That's the one that stands out to you the most is don't assume.
Yeah.
Mine's don't take it personal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the one
Yeah.
for me, and I gotta always remind myself like this isn't personal. It didn't work out on
Right.
it didn't work out for a reason,
Mhm.
whatever that looks
Those are
like.
the path that
Which
we're
one?
supposed to be.
Which one stands out for you? What are the 4 agreements? It's don't take it personal.
Always do
Always do
your
your
best.
best.
Always do your best.
So I think the always do your best is my favorite because I didn't always do my best for a very long time. Honestly, personally, all 4 of them have changed my life.
Yeah.
Straight up, I carry the book around with me at work
That's
so I can show
awesome.
people.
So what does a 5-star Freedom Day look like for you?
A five-star.
5-star, yeah, you give yourself a rating, right? It's like, we do these ratings, like, what's a 5-star Freedom Day for you?
5-star Freedom Day. Freedom Day is that what you
Yeah.
call it?
You're
Okay.
not locked up, you're
I'm
not
not
locked
locked
up,
up.
you're not high, right?
Um,
What is that?
Well, so for me, like I was telling George when he first asked me to come on here, like I was like, well, I only did 10,
Begged her.
10 months in prison, and he's like, are you discrediting the time that you used? And I was like, oh, you're so right. I was, because that 22 years of addiction was my own little prison. For
Yeah,
sure.
that counts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Free and locked up?
So for me, free and locked up for sure. For me, a 5-star Freedom
Day.
Freedom Day.
Call it whatever you want.
Right.
yeah.
Whatever you
No,
want.
I just think that's beautiful because literally, a 5-star Freedom Day to me looks like I got up, and for me, not getting up was a thing, right? For the first 6 months I was sober, I didn't understand it, right? But I had a therapist tell me that I have there's post-acute withdrawal syndrome, right? And that's a thing that anybody who used for decades can have that.
Pause, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pause. Well, when I was in rehab, I thought that was only for heroin addicts and opiate users and stuff like that. And he's like, no, you're strongly mistaken. He's like, you used for over 2 decades, so you have post-acute withdrawal syndrome, and you're all of a sudden up here, and then you're down here, and then you're up here, and then you're down there. And I was like, okay, I get it. I understand that now. You know what I mean? I didn't understand because I'm a pretty happy person, right? And even when something shitty comes towards me, I'm still a pretty happy person. Like, I don't take it personally. You know what I mean? But a 5-star day for me would wake up and have my coffee. I got a hummingbird feeder outside. For me, hummingbirds are my godshot.
You know you have to change that out every 3 days, right?
The hummingbird feeder?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Google that shit.
Can't let it go longer than a week. I'm serious.
Okay, good. Well, you can start to see little, like,
Yeah.
one
Just
of
keep
you
adding to it.
What
You wanna
happens if
actually
it goes
clean
more
out
than a
the-
week?
Yeah.
every 3 days? Okay.
What happens if it goes too long?
Well, you can actually poison a bird.
Do the hummingbirds get rabies?
I don't know.
That's
Are they getting more aggressive? I have no idea. I don't know what happens.
'Cause
don't know what that
I got
looks
attacked-
like for a hummingbird.
I got
I do know that there's time constraints on how
the sugar.
on how long we should have that in the
Okay.
yeah.
Well, it's been like 3 weeks, so maybe a month. I should probably check that.
Those hummingbirds are lit.
Right.
So there's a place, it's on the road, it's in Cornville, Arizona, it's called Up the Creek Bistro. I encourage you to ever go there if you love hummingbirds, because they have probably about 30 feeders out there.
Yeah.
And there's all these different hummingbirds from all over the place.
There was a member who told me about that. He
Yeah,
said, look,
it's-
you gotta go out there. Is it something you did in prison? Because he said there was something, he went out there during prison, like for working or something, and he's like, dude, there's a shit ton of hummingbirds out there.
Yeah,
I
that
was
was
like,
just along that little river place right there, but yeah, that's where we took interest, you know, my wife and I took interest in like the hummingbirds, so we came back, got a hummingbird feeder, and I was doing like the research on it, and it's like, yeah, within a week you wanna switch that sugar out, otherwise you can possibly infect those birds with like some kind of mold or some kind of.
Yeah,
That's
that
crazy.
makes sense.
That's what I love about the podcast, because we come on here, right? We all hang out.
Yeah.
We
Well,
talk about hummingbirds.
I didn't even know that all three of us had done 17 years, right? Give or take, right around there, all three of us, right? That came out. Jeremy's a fucking hummingbird expert. That just came
No.
out, right?
I love that. That's beautiful.
It's the stuff that
It-
comes
it-
out here is pretty
it's
cool.
like I read a book, right? But like I don't ever get to the next page, so it ends right there, and that's where the conversation ends. So everything you got about hummingbirds ends right there.
Okay.
Because I never went on to the next page. I'm full of useless information.
Oh,
Ask
that's
me a
great.
question, I could probably read you a page on it, and then there it stops.
Let me tell you, I've got an infatuation with hummingbirds. I haven't been able to get a hummingbird in my house to save me. They flat out refuse to come anywhere near my
Did you
house.
get a hummingbird feeder?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you put enough sugar in it?
they refuse to come anywhere near the house.
Did you get a hummingbird whistle?
Shut it
Yeah.
down. Oh, that's
I will find you a hummingbird whistle.
But I think my 5-star day would be waking up, drinking some coffee, and really truly like getting some things done. Like honestly, I used to read all the time in prison. I really love to read. Like I'm trying to read the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Awesome book.
Good, awesome
So
book.
trying to get through that, and
Win-win.
and I only get myself like I'm literally on like less than 100 page less than you know what I mean. I'm trying to get myself to actually like spend more time to read. And I really want to keep pushing myself to do better, like with my education, because I love to learn, love
Good.
it. And I know that for a long time I liked psychology, and then I realized that
Good, you can finish my psych class for me then. I got three assignments
Hey,
left.
I aced my
Harder and harder
one-on-one
towards
class
the end.
with like a 4.0.
Again, I got 3 assignments left. They're all yours.
So I really truly like psychology and the way the brain works and everything, but when it comes down to like a career in psychology, I think I might need to go more towards like social work. So I want to stop holding myself back. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm not pushing myself because I was like, oh, if I'm sober living, I got stuff to do, I won't be able to focus. Well, now I don't have that excuse anymore. So like, come on, Maureen, stop
Can-
procrastinating.
Yeah,
What-
social work will open the door more. I learned from my previous employer, whose wife was a doctor in psychology, and they go through all this schooling, right, just to make very minimal amount.
Yeah.
While you have a psychiatrist who doesn't specialize in diagnostics, took minor courses in diagnosis. The primary thing is to treat the symptoms. So
Yeah.
they disperse medication, so most of it's in pharmacology.
Mm.
But a psychologist spends most of their schooling in giving a qualified diagnostics, right?
Yeah.
And so, if you want to get diagnosed, don't go see a therapist, see a psychologist, right? See a doctor level psychologist.
Yeah.
You know, not some psychiatrist you're gonna freaking see for like 10 minutes who's gonna say, yep, that's it, here's your medications, good luck.
Right. Hell no. Yeah, I'm not about the
Scary, right?
medication thing. Yeah.
Scary,
No.
yeah, scary.
Yeah.
Well, I've had my best experience with peers.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Really, through
100%.
peer support.
yeah, and accountability.
Absolutely.
No.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
I had a lady ask
Well,
me
best
today.
medication, you always say at George, is connection.
100. It's the opposite of addiction. I'm
Yeah.
100% certain that is the opposite of addiction.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
100% because
Well, definitely, we disconnect ourselves from everything when we're high.
If
Really,
we-
from ourselves.
if we were ever connected, I think that's what leads to getting high. Because if I got relationships like this, I'm not stepping outside of even my friend relationships to go do drugs and to do all the, to live that life. And because I have,
truly believe it's trauma. Straight up.
Yeah.
Trauma. It's trauma. Like, and what we don't realize is trauma because every single one of us has had trauma because we've lived the lifestyle we've lived, right? But we push it down and we push it down and we push it down. And if we don't truly try to dig that trauma up to figure out what it was that made us even feel like we were uncomfortable with who we are to get high, then we're, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We really, truly, that's what it is.
Trauma's huge. I remember when I first got a trauma book, I had to teach a trauma class in prison. I'm like, how am I gonna do this? I never had trauma. And I start reading through this book and I'm like, holy shit, I got trauma.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't even know, I'm thinking trauma, car wrecks, like
Right.
all this other
That's what
stuff.
you think.
There
But
was a CBT model of high risk situations by Marlette that I really studied, and I was able to implant my personal experience and how, like, the abstinence violation effect, that little box itself, where an addict actually usually says, "Hey, fuck it," right?
Mhm.
And they return back to those high risk situations. Those high risk situations are re-traumatizing. Every time you reward yourself from a high risk situation, it creates that emotional memory, and you're literally living from that trauma, predicting your next outcome.
Yeah.
So if I'm carrying that emotional trauma, I'm gonna bring it right to this conversation. That's why, like, even depression is it's so bad, right? They're reliving that trauma over and over again, and it literally carries into the next conversation. So they relive it over and over and over again. It's the driving force behind addiction. It's really great.
we got some feedback that, so great. I think it says so great. I don't have my glasses on. Seeing a woman on the show. Aaron Yeager saying preach. Ann Portillo said hello. Callie Rogers is talking about how awesome therapists are, but she's extremely biased.
Well, it's when I started buying into the bullshit. I was like, actually, all that education does apply to my life, and it does work.
But
conditioning, reframing, like, these are all, like, different CBT things that I implement in my life that carry me through, struggles.
Yeah. And you see the people, like, this includes us, and definitely me, that are doing things. We just don't have the words to know what we're doing when we're healing. And then, like, I know the first thing that opened my eyes, I was teaching my recovery class, and there's a thing called the good guy mindset. And it's when you're committing criminal behavior, but you look at yourself as kind of like the hero or the good guy. And I remember this clear as day. I stopped at a Subway. There were some people outside asking for money, a family with their kids. And even though I'm on drugs, I'm selling drugs, I'm doing drugs, I'm not going to give them money because they're going to spend it on drugs. So, all right, for whatever reason. And I go into the Subway and I tell the lady, I'm like, hey, how much to buy that whole family food? I think I gave her like $50, whatever it was. And I leave. And all I talked about for the next 2 weeks was how I bought this homeless family or this family that was struggling food.
Yeah.
While I'm robbing houses, stealing cars, and making other people's days just a complete nightmare. I didn't really talk about any of that.
You're a man of integrity.
But and then I seen it in a book.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's a mentality for this. Like, this isn't just me. And it really humanized that perspective for me. Like, I'm not alone in this. Like, this happens so often that someone who just reads books and studies this was able to categorize it, label it, and put it in a book for us to learn about.
Yeah.
I'm not on my own here, you know? So.
Yeah.
You were talking about pause earlier, right? No drugs involved for numerous years while I was incarcerated for burglary, right? I would have dreams of no drugs involved, just being in somebody's house looking for their jewelry box and tape. I had created and was responsible for those emotional memories. So for the longest time, like, one of the things I pray about still is the replacement. Right?
Yeah.
Right? When am I gonna dream about helping someone?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you gotta get out there. You gotta get out
Oh,
there.
yeah,
I feed the homeless, honestly, like, cause I have a lot of different amends I had to make, like financial, and honestly, to tell you the truth, the longer I'm sober, the more things start to pop up to people I need to. But I had a amends to an ex, right, one of the many, and I was like,
it pops up and you're like, why?
right. Well, so what I told myself was, like, I wrote a little note card thing, and I read it to the universe, and Justine, my mom, they actually helped me. I would make up bags for the homeless, right? And at first I started, I had EBT, so I was able to afford it, but then I started budgeting, right? Because as soon as I got more sober, I was able to budget more and realize the difference of it. But it truly felt so good to go out there and drive around with Justine, and we would just, like, and I don't recommend going and doing that, well, at least not me by myself, because I've had people like, drugs, and I'm like, I don't have drugs, I don't have drugs, I just got food and cigarettes, man, here you go. But that's how I started giving back. That's how I started replacing, like, those negative memories, right? And the other day when I got in a car accident, I saw myself looking in the rearview mirror a lot, and it fucking triggered me about how in the back of the day I would always be looking in the fucking rearview mirror.
Yeah.
And I was really looking because my mom was following behind me, even though she knew where I was going and all this stuff. Like all of a sudden I just turned, I didn't even look, and I hit somebody, and I jumped out of the car like I was gonna run or something. and I realized my car was still rolling, and I looked at my car, and then I got back in, and I pulled over, and I was like, dude, I'm so sorry I hit you. Like, I've never done this legally before. Like, I've never actually, like, came and took responsibility for my shit right away like that and been like, this is my fault, da-da-da-da. And this is how I know God's got jokes, okay? Because this car is the first one I've ever had with full coverage, and, like, you know, it's new to me, and so I hit this guy, I take full responsibility, I make a claim, right? And then I take it to the collision place right down the street from New Freedom, and they're like, yeah, we're not giving you your car back. You gotta wait for the insurance to come get it. And I was like, what? It's still drivable. Like, it's just the side of it's banged up. We're good. Like, I want my car back. I don't want to take Uber. I don't want to take Lyft. And I called insurance, and they're like, they wouldn't give you your car back? I was like, no, they wouldn't fucking give me my car back. Like, why? Right? And they're like, we'll call them right now, and we'll make sure you can get your car. And I did the salvage title. I did everything legitly, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so proud of myself for being a fucking adult. Like, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
But this is how I know God's got jokes, because then I get the check, I deposit it in my account, and then Justine and them leave, and like all my plumbing's backed up, and I was like, oh my God, I've dealt with this before. And it fucking triggered me. It triggered me to that old, when I had my other house, and I was high, and all these things were going on and chaotic, and then I got the sepsis and da-da-da, and I had to sit there for a second and be like, oh my God, like, I can make it. It's okay. Like, I don't need to go get high over this, right? I dealt with putting my dog down, I dealt with my dad dying, I dealt with divorce, I dealt with all these different things, and like, this is not gonna be the thing that takes me back. You know what I mean? So then I realized, okay, well, I've got this $4,000, and now I can put that towards like doing this in a healthy fucking way. You know what I mean? And then I have the support of my mom, right? She's like, look, I'll help you with this, and oh my God, she's such a godsend, right? And the thing I love about my mom and the support that I have there is she's very negative to herself. She talks bad about her, like, all the time. Well, I'm not gonna stay the next night because I don't want you guys to get sick of me. And I said, Mom, if I got sick of you, I would tell you, okay? I'm not gonna hold that back. Like, we're close. Like, I love you, and really, I know what it is. She's trying to avoid going home because my other little brother is an addict, and he's a dick to her, and he's a bully, and he's a narcissist, and all these things. And I introduced my mom to Coda, and the blessings of it is because she truly knows what's wrong. It's just making those decisions, right? And knowing, and it hurts me so bad to see how he treats her and how she takes it personally and all these things. And she's the one who gave me the 4 agreements. So you know what? There's no excuse. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I have to meet the people I care about where they're at, right?
That's the hard part.
Yeah, and I had to tell her, look, I will not go to your house. Because last time I saw my little brother, he called me some scandalous ass tweaker, and all shit. And I was like, you know what, dude? I won't put up with that.
Yeah.
Because I put up with that for so fucking long that I don't deserve that. And I know my worth. And I know that I can't watch my mom get treated like that either. You know what I mean? So the old me would come out.
Yeah.
I would straight beat the fuck out of him when I was little, you know what I mean? I would do it for her because I love my mom and she doesn't deserve that shit. So pretty much this house that I have, I know I'm gonna let her like live her days out in it, you know what I mean? Because I know it'll make her happy, but what makes me happy is that I can be there for her, right? And her birthday is this Saturday, and we always do Adopt a Street the very last Saturday, and she always does it with me. And I was like, Mom, well, what do you want for your birthday? And she goes, all I really want, Mari, is for you to keep doing what you're doing. And I was like, what? That's not a present. She goes, no, Mari, it's the biggest present I've ever had, ever.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, don't make me cry, Mom.
She doesn't have 2 people treating her like shit.
Right. And it was cool because my older brother, how I said we're going there for Thanksgiving, tomorrow, he was like, yeah, you're not the black sheep anymore. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not the black sheep anymore. Like, it's fucking nuts. Because for 22 fucking years, I was the black sheep and I treated people like shit, and you know what I mean? And I'm not that person anymore, and it's all because of God.
Yeah.
My sobriety and God. Straight up.
You can't have one without the other.
No,
That's right.
you can't.
You talked about the plumbing being out. It always reminds me of Jeremy's brother, Jason. That's who I was really close with before in my addiction. And I remember I had this apartment, and I was
Luxury?
a luxury apartment. You know, it's a little bit nicer than this one. And we had the power had gone out, and I'm bitching on the phone about it, whatever, right? And Jason shows up, and he's got like, I don't know where he got them from, you know, but it's like 19 candles, and these all Bro, don't worry about it. We got candles. We're good. We got candles. He's lighting candles all over my house. He's like,
Resourceful.
I talked to him the other day. I'm like, when you coming on the podcast? He goes, when I'm ready, man. Sometimes you just, I'm like, shut up.
I love him. He is
Dude,
awesome.
He's amazing.
He literally makes me
He
smile
really is.
every time I see
Yeah,
him.
He's an amazing
he's got a
person.
gift, man.
Yeah.
He's got an amazing person, and he was actually supposed to come on. Remember you did the joke about not coming?
Yeah. Yeah.
Jason got us like that one time.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't that last minute, but it was close. We thought he was coming, but he had to work, or but he had something else going on.
Yeah,
But
well played.
we'll get
Yeah,
we'll get
for
him
some
on.
reason, something told me like, hey, because I knew I wasn't there because he gave me an apartment number, and I was like, hey, I was like, should I do this? I should do this. I'm doing this.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. So, because I'm like, you know what, and that's another thing I really want to talk about. Rule 62, right? When we take ourselves too seriously, like.
Is that from Zombie Killer?
No, Rule 62 is from AA.
Oh, yeah. I'm
See?
not a big 12 stepper.
Well, it's a huge thing, right? Because that's what I did for so fucking long, was take myself so seriously that, and I used to say it even in our active addiction, I'm like, if you can make me laugh, then I'll keep you around, right? That's why I kept Chris around for so long. I still love him to death. I just know that like he's still in there, you know what I mean? And that's why I think it's such a blessing that you were able to get sober in there, because I don't necessarily think that he's not sober in there, but you got to do the work on yourself.
Absolutely.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I started facilitating groups in 2013. There was a guy, Scrappy, that got out that went to New Freedom. I've yet to run into him, but he's the one who introduced me to peer programming. I'm forever grateful for that. He gave me this 1978 Hazelden manual. It said, relapse prevention.
Yeah.
So I went and hustled on the yard to get people in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can need it and you can want it, but that can't be enough.
Well,
Yeah.
You gotta be
And
willing
he's
to
at
do
do,
the work.
do the fucking work.
You gotta do
But
the
he's
work.
at La Palma, right? Every single person I've talked to that's come from La Palma has told me horrible things about it.
That's
Yeah.
just an excuse.
But
though.
right, I
Yeah.
was gonna say, like, when you're in your head and you finally realize you're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
I was in Cimarron when I found heaven.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I still
Every
think
yard I
it's-
was strung out was terrible. Every yard I was on strung out was terrible.
Right.
When I got in recovery, every yard I was on after that was awesome. You know what else changed? The staff were pretty fucking cool too.
Yeah.
You know what else changed? My friends were pretty fucking cool too.
Yeah.
You know what
Well,
else
that's the
changed? I
thing,
talked to
too.
my family and they were awesome too.
When I first started New Freedom and I was safety, right? And like, oh my god, I can't even tell you how many people were like, 5-0, pigs are coming. You know what I mean? Just I'm like, oh, that's how you can tell too when someone's still in their
Yeah.
same mindset. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, dude, those are just people. Like, they're just doing their job. That's all I'm doing. It's my job.
And
Yeah.
even beyond that, getting into community, you hear a lot of people say, well, I just got to get out of Phoenix. I just got to get out of Phoenix. There's too many drugs in Phoenix. I know too many people. Let me tell you, I live in the same Phoenix that I used to use drugs and sell drugs in, and the people that I'm around today are not the same people that I was around before.
Right.
There's a completely different world in that same Phoenix if
Wow.
you choose to associate with different people.
Right.
Different world, different energy,
And the
different
change of
everything.
mindset, what I love about CA too is that like I can get up in front of a full room and when you're around normal people, they don't really understand, but the stories that we do make us laugh,
Yeah.
right? And I'd rather be perceived as crazy, but hey, I really enjoy being vulnerable, sharing my story, and not holding anything back in front of a room full of people, giving them that same opportunity that somebody afforded me, when they visited me in prison, right? It's that exchange. So.
We're getting into about our last 2 minutes here.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was so
It
quick.
goes quick.
Well, real quick though, it's crazy because I didn't think I'd ever have to come back to Phoenix to get sober either, but I did.
Or see Jesse sober.
Or that. That's
Nobody
a
thinks
miracle.
that.
I'm still a wild
But-
card in 90% of people's eyes.
I'm still on the fence whether that's a thing or not.
I got people in my life that still doubt me.
But the other thing I want to say real quick is I no longer feel like crying is a weakness anymore when it comes to vulnerability. And I share that with people all the time too. Like when I was younger, my dad would tell me, "Don't let anyone see you be weak. Don't let them see you cry." And now when I see someone cry, it's strength. It's strength, and I feel honored being able to have someone be like that vulnerable with me.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I think that's the thing I would leave with at the end of this podcast is like, don't be afraid to be who you are and be vulnerable and grow,
Yeah.
right? Because growth is where it's at, and God put us here for a purpose, and we need to figure that out,
That's awesome. And if you're around people that you're scared to cry in front of, you're around the wrong fucking people.
right?
Because those, You got to be able to have that trust. And I do. I have to be able to have that trust. I want to know I can count on my friends, and not just for the good shit. The good shit's easy.
Yeah.
But I read something the other day on LinkedIn, and there was a coffee cup, and they got bumped into, right? And so coffee got everywhere. And the guy made it an analogy and said, whatever's in your cup is what's going to come out when you get bumped.
Right.
So if your cup's filled with hate and anger, when the stuff gets hard, how do you act in those moments? Because sitting around here bullshitting, this is easy.
Yeah.
But when the rent comes due, or the plumbing breaks, or somebody
Like
hits you,
when George
somebody
moved
hits
in
you.
here with no furniture, and I furnished the place with a beanbag and a mattress.
No, he did not furnish it with a beanbag and a mattress. This is terrible. I don't even know how to explain this story on here. I'm still gassing this place for bed bugs and an unhealthy amount of
Grab a mattress
probably,
right by that
let's just
dumpster
say
outside.
bodily fluids. Yeah. And I was so desperate at the time, I took it. I hauled it out of his garage. It came off my roof while I was driving here. It was a fucking nightmare. And then I get this thing in the light. I got it out of a dark garage, in my defense. And then I turned this fucking light on, and I was like, if the cops come and search my house right now, there's physical evidence that bad shit happened here. For sure. I'm going to prison, dude.
What about that beanbag?
What beanbag, dude?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Well, the beauty
That's so
of it is,
funny.
and I did mean to mention this, is I just got off probation.
Oh, that's awesome,
Yeah,
man.
3 months early.
Good job.
Yeah, it was a fucking blessing because I never thought that would be a thing.
Yep, and now you're off. You're a homeowner.
Yeah.
You're crushing life. You're on here being vulnerable. You're telling your truth.
Awesome.
All these
Yeah.
men and women that are on here commenting are talking about how good it is to hear a woman on here telling their truth. For me, it was great just hearing you in the headphones when we got started, right? Because we listen to all dudes all the time.
Yeah.
So it was awesome having you on here. Thank you so much for being here. You guys got anything else? We got about a
You
minute
did
left.
great, Mark. That was a great message. Great message.
I appreciate
Stand,
that. I
stand
feel,
with that
yeah.
power of vulnerability, you know.
Brene Brown, baby.
That's
Brene Brown. I love her.
Say that.
I love her. Oh,
yeah.
she's so.
Oh, yeah.
She has taught me so much,
Yes.
and every single one of my classes in prison. It was absolutely great. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for
You're
having me.
amazing. Everybody else out there, take care. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you soon. Maybe next week we'll introduce you to the girl on the couch.
Yeah.
Something to think.
That'd be
Something to think
great.
about.
Yeah.